America. America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Now that's me taking y'all to church, fam. All right. On the real, that is not me mocking one of the most beautiful songs of all time. That is me telling you from sea to shining sea, from Atlantic to the Pacific, we need a move of God right now, America. America, we're in desperate straits. It's been the craziest week, maybe in my lifetime here in America. From protests to the rising up of the NBA protesting and boycotting perhaps the remainder of the season after all that we've been through fighting COVID, the racial animosity and hatred and police brutality has gotten so real in America that people, despite all that, would scrap the season and say, you know what? We got to stand in brotherhood from sea to shining sea to make a statement about who we want to be and what we want this country to be going forward. Now, America, we have a choice to make. That choice belongs to you and it belongs to me. What kind of a place do we want this to be? It's strange because we have two faces to America. One of the most beautiful constitutions with its amendments in the history of the world. Most people don't realize, but our Constitution has stood longer than almost any constitution in the history of the world. Those precious pieces of paper that defined what our nation would be and what our country was capable of and what our society should mature into has stood longer than any other society, if not longer than any other society's founding documents. Even though we're, in contrast to so many places in the world, a fairly young country. But at the same time that we've had so much greatness and so much potential, we've also been a nation who, under at the roots of our country, was deeply defined and built on the blood of slavery. And we deal with the consequences of that hate and the psychological trauma that has been bred into our world because of it. Now, we have a choice to make right now, America. Are we going to allow our history to break us? Are we going to finally take responsibility for the history that we all share together and truly move forward into making this the greatest nation that's ever been on the planet? Or are we really going to embrace the reality of the nation that we could be and move forward? The choice is really yours and mine. The decision that we have is what we're going to do with the opportunity that's in front of us. Most people don't see conflict as opportunity, but I see the moment of our conflict right now, the challenge that we're in, as a birthing place. We can become that country that's always been just under the surface of our reality, where we take the truth of our Constitution, the beauty of our Constitution, and we remove the conflict of bigotry, bias, and racism out of our society and our country. But the choice is an active one. This message is all about what I would call courageous love. And courage is perhaps the greatest of all virtues. Because without courage, you can do none of the other virtues. Only courage is strong enough to push you into embracing all the other virtues, whether it's wisdom or temperance, discipline, or justice. It takes courage to boldly move in and to own those areas of your life. I've always talked about faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these three things As important as faith is, as important as hope is, the greatest of all of them is love. Because love is the engine that causes us to give forgiveness. Love is the engine that causes us to move forward despite brokenness and hardship, and despite failing over and over again. Love is the vehicle by which we travel in hope, by which we travel in faith, by which we activate our courage and we say we're going to pursue wisdom and truth, and we're going to find discipline, and we're going to honor our past and our future by living in a world of justice. Now, I don't know about you, but I know the world that I live in, and what I want to live in is a world of justice. A world where we justly come together and treat each other fairly. That we're able to live out that content of truth, that we value a man's worth, we value a woman's worth, not based on the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. That we're always moving forward in love. And that takes courage. Right now, it's going to take great courage to face the hardships that are in front of us. It seems like in America, we move from one tragedy to the next tragedy. And in this political season, we just don't seem to let it die. And I don't think we should let it die. I think we should let it stir in our hearts, and we should allow it to cause us to change. People, I believe that we should take this pain that we're feeling and let it be a launching point into the new America that we desire and we need and we desperately deserve. An America where we treat people with equality and we treat people with the respect of the dignity of our humanity. America, this is our moment to be the greatest that we possibly can be by having the bravery and the courage to walk in love. Now, love isn't just an adjective. It's not just a noun. Love is a verb. Love is a decision to walk and to live in. Love is a choice. And I'm urging you in this moment to make a decision to live in love. Now, there's going to be a lot of temptation to allow your heart to slip into hate. One of the greatest temptations around us right now to slip into hate is this mongrelling enemy called fear. Fear is promoted to us from every angle that we have, from Democrats to Republicans to politics from politics to the church. Everyone seems to be using fear to motivate. But I don't think that we should use fear to motivate. Although it'll get you to move, I think the carrot that we should use is the carrot of love. Loving one another and loving our potential and loving our futures and loving our destiny and loving the possibilities of what we can become. We have scarcely moved from the tragedy of George Floyd to another black man being shot on the streets of America. And you say, Richard, use love as the engine to move us forward? What other choice do we have? Dr. King once said it this way: darkness can't drive out darkness. Only light can do that. In the same way, hate can't drive out hate. Only love can do that. Right now, I'm not asking you to have passive conversations. I'm not asking you to be a pacifist or to respond to people like, I just forgive you, sweetie. You don't know any better. No, I'm asking you to have hard conversations, embrace the conflict, but do it in love. This poor young man that just lost his life, Jacob Blakes, we haven't done the same quite as we did as George Floyd. His death is so fresh right now. We're still dealing with the grief over it. And so many people wonder, why would we grieve over someone that wasn't a superstar, didn't have a fancy house or a fancy car? He wasn't known as a celebrity. As a matter of fact, some people would say that he'd made so many poor decisions in his life that he really had disqualified himself from people caring at all. But we grieve because we love even the least of these. Because we grieve because we love all of our people. Not just black and brown people, but every nationality, color, culture, and background in our nation. As Americans, we should learn to embrace every portion of what we are. Stop with this nonsense of pretending to be a colorblind society. The colors that we see are beautiful. And when we begin to embrace the beauty of our color differences and our cultural differences, that's when our nation will begin to skyrocket and grow. America, this is our chance. This is our chance to fulfill the promises that we wrote down so many years ago at the foundation of our nation. That we, the people have the opportunity to make a decision right now. To celebrate the least of these. To rise them up, to celebrate them, to honor them, to protect them, to treat them justly. And by doing that, our nation grows exponentially. It's often been said this on every team I've ever played for. We're only as good as our weakest link. We're only as strong as our most vulnerable. Today, America is filled with vulnerability. The homeless, the hungry, the starving, the naked, people that have been cast away because of the color of their skin, or more importantly and more relatively, maybe because of their economic status. See, racism is just an expression of capitalism gone wild. Capitalism without control or restraint, greed at the next level. Because of that greed, Black Lives Matter movement has been able to come into our nation. And a lot of people are screaming, we don't agree with the Black Lives Matter movement. The reason they say that is because they say it's founded in Marxist principles. How sad that in a country as great as this, any enemy or any doctrine or any belief could slip into our hallowed halls. Why does that happen? Because we allow hate to govern our lives rather than love. If we purely allowed our nation to function as it is supposed to be on paper, we would never fear an enemy from the outside. As a matter of fact, one of the quotes that I live my life by and I govern my family by, and we talk about often is this. It's not the water on the outside of a ship that sinks it. It's the water on the inside of the ship that sinks it. You want our nation to be great? Let's start bailing the water out from our hearts. Let's start bailing the water out from the core and the totality of who we are as a nation. So here we are facing another death. Hearts broken, grieved and sad, and people say, why do we turn the least of ours into our superstars? I'll tell you why. Because we need to fight for one another. We need to believe in one another, and we need to stand for one another in justice. George Floyd, I've been looking all over the internet for a young lady named Candace Owens to release her video. I've been waiting for this young lady, Candace Owens, to release her video on Jacob Blake, to reveal his long list of failures, of what he did wrong here and the crimes he committed there, just like we did against George Floyd. I've been looking, but it seems as though she stepped off center stage because her heart was bruised not being asked to speak at the Republican Party convention. Maybe, and I'm praying, I don't think it's true. It probably isn't. She probably is still as convicted as ever that Trump is the pathway to the promised land. But I'm hoping that Candace has come to her senses and realizes that by tearing each other down, we're only giving room to an invisible enemy to destroy us. Does that mean that I'm calling the Republican Party the enemy? Not at all. Does it mean I'm even calling Donald Trump the enemy? Not at all. What I'm calling the enemy is hate. What I'm calling the enemy is bigotry. What I'm calling the enemy is racism. And when we do not deal with the things that are crushing us, they will destroy us. They will allow so much water to get into the ship that we'll find ourselves at the bottom of the sea. What we need to do is we need to find courage to face, even if it's in conflict, the people around us that aren't walking in love and spreading hate. They once said it this way: good is the enemy of great. But I would tell you it's different than that. I would say that hate is the enemy of great. Because if you truly want to be great, you have to remove hate out of your heart. You have to remove jealousy and envy. You have to remove the enemies that would destroy your pursuit of love. Love is our only hope right now. And people wonder, why do we stand with Jacob Blake? Why do we demand justice for him? And why, time and time again, do we cry out for the end of police brutality? Why do we cry out against the unjust? It's because to love someone is to defend someone. Am I saying that all police officers are evil? Absolutely not. Am I even saying, to be honest with you, that when I see people hurt or wounded or shot and killed, or they're moving towards a weapon, yeah, I've had some reality checks. I've had dear friends tell me, Richard, what are they supposed to do in this situation or that situation? It's because my heart is full of so much love that I desire to see the world not be governed by hate, but by love. Brothers and sisters, we're all fighting for the same thing. I know it's politics time, and I know that we're fighting for our party to win or for the other party not to win. We're praying that our president becomes president, that our vice president becomes vice president, that our congressmen and our senators and our mayors, that they're the winners of the race. But in the long run, we're all fighting for the same thing. I know there's a ton of conspiracies, and I know that there's a ton of people out there feeding hate and fear and believing that there is some kind of a conspiracy where one party is the evil of the world and the other party is the righteousness of the world. But we're all fighting for the same thing, family. We're all fighting for the opportunity to raise our kids in the greatest country in the world where we feel like they're going to be safe. They're going to have a good opportunity for a good education and a good future. Where our health care is going to be reasonable. Where we're going to be able to live a long, prosperous life. Where we don't fear hard work. We put our hand to the grindstone and we do what needs to be done. We don't mess with other people, and we just don't expect other people to mess with us. We're all believing and dreaming for the same thing. And I'm not mad at you for fighting hard for your politics or for the people that you believe will do the best job for our country. But in this process, we have to remember that in courage, we can still choose to walk in love. Even when we're fighting like cats and dogs, we're still brothers and sisters. And I believe that all of us need some empathy. We need a little bit of space where we forgive one another. We need a little bit of space where we seek first to understand and then to be understood. Listen, the old saying is true. We've been given 2 ears for a reason. Most of us are using our one mouth to demonstrate our First Amendment right without thought or concern about the feelings or the life of the person next to us. It's driving our nation crazy and the people in our nation crazy. We have 17-year-old boys running around with AR-15s, sneaking into protests with the one hope and the one desire to shoot a looter. Family, that's not love. That's hate. It's not necessarily racial hate, but it's this desire to win at the consequence of somebody else. This young boy, Kyle, ruined not only 2 people's future in killing them, but he ruined his own future. He allowed the darkness of hate to creep through him into this world. And I know, believe me, I posted something on my Facebook page that already has 500 comments. Next day I had another comment of almost 500 comments. So I get it, people are emotional and they have an opinion. But the reality is that we have a choice to walk in hate or to walk in love. I'm asking you, America, to have courage, to walk in love, to begin to understand and to believe in one another that we can do more together than we can through the division of hate. Now I know the elections will soon be over, the president will be announced, and the winning party, Their hands will be raised high, and there'll be champagne and bubbly of people celebrating. One party is going to be upset, perhaps not leave the White House, where they're going to, or Democrats are going to scream, "We deserve the White House," whatever it is. But whatever our politics are doing and whatever our politicians are doing, American citizens, we the people, need to begin to make a choice to walk in greater love. You say, what can I do to walk in greater love? Have tough conflict conversations that aren't comfortable, but that you make a decision to proverbially hug and make up at the end. It's okay, America, to have different opinions. It's okay to have different ideas and thoughts. But in the end, we're one nation under God. Man, that's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand. I know that there's some atheists and there's some agnostics out there that are watching this thinking, why would he have to bring God into it? Personally, my conviction is because without God, we're in trouble. But whatever your thought is about God, please agree with me with this. We can make a choice to love one another. Now, that choice is going to require of us a little bit of forgiveness. It's going to require us a little bit of thicker skin. It's going to require of us the ability to not forget what was said, not forget what was done, but to grow from what was said, to grow from what was done, to move forward. America, this is our opportunity to move forward. So I would love if you would join me in a commitment, red, yellow, black, or white, whether you're firstborn American or you've been here for years or years, whether you came on the first slave ship or whether you came on the Mayflower, to make a commitment to love one another. The Bible says that there is no greater commandment that we love the Lord our God and our neighbor as ourselves. Come on, people, we have a choice to make. As it's been said, we either learn to hang together or we hang individually. I know that's a brutal reality, but we have a choice to support and stand with one another or to abandon each other in our time of need. And if we make the decision to abandon one another, we will destroy the hopes of our future and the promise of our potential. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. I'm your host, Richard Thomas. This has been the Lionheart Institute podcast. I hope you've grown out of this. I hope it's challenged you. And I hope that you'll like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with a friend or two that you guys have been fighting like your enemies on Facebook or on social media. But you realize no matter who wins, you still love them. No matter what the outcome of the election is, we still should love each other. No matter what is found about the court cases of Jacob or this young man named Kyle, that we have a place in our heart to forgive and to move forward. That we push hate out and we let love expand in our hearts. Don't let the social media pull you one direction or the other, or the major channel networks pull you one way or the other. Let love be your compass and navigate these troubled waters with a sense and a purpose of forgiveness, mutual respect, and understanding, where you see things as they are and you empathize with the person that's next to you, understanding from their perspective the pain that they may be experiencing as a result of the hardships going on in the world today. This is a time I know we can't hug as much, we can't socialize as much, but we can learn in this COVID world that we live in to care 10 times more. Find a way to reach out and to make a difference in somebody's life, and you'll be making a difference in the world. God bless you.